Is programming dying? You can think about that all you want, but it is a difficult question to answer. I went to college for computer science in 2015, and I chose to major in computer science for a few reasons. One reason was that software engineers make a lot of money. And another reason was because there was a lot of optimism surrounding the programming job market. This was because at the time, every company was becoming a tech company in some way. And throughout my studies, we saw this. Every company now is a brand and has an online presence, and they all have websites and apps and tech infrastructure that needs to be maintained by engineers. So throughout college, there was no problem finding internships or programming opportunities. And when I finished college, the job market was booming, so it was pretty easy to land my first entry-level role. So then how come now it seems like every junior developer is struggling to find employment? Well, there's not just one answer to this question. The number of open tech jobs is down 61.4% from its all-time high. And just a little bit over a year ago, there were double the amount of openings. This year, we saw massive layoffs of thousands and thousands of employees from huge companies like Google and Microsoft and Amazon. So it's pretty easy to see why junior developers now are having a tougher time finding employment opportunities. There are far less open tech jobs right now, and there are far more engineers and developers interviewing for those positions. Not to mention that a lot of the engineers that were laid off and are now looking for new roles actually have good experience. So now junior developers are left in an oversaturated market, and they're competing against experienced engineers. And it's not just those layoffs that gave us an oversaturated market, right? During the pandemic, we all shifted to remote work, and a lot of people took up coding and became developers. It's very popularly known now that you could learn to code fast and start making six figures from your bedroom. So it is a pretty good career, and a lot more people are learning to code because of that. So does that alone mean that programming is dying? Well, no, of course not. Computer programming jobs in particular still have some of the lowest unemployment rates when you compare them to all other occupations. It is still definitely one of the most comfortable jobs you can get. However, it's just a much more competitive field than it was a few years ago. But unfortunately, that also doesn't mean that programming isn't dying, because we also have to consider some technological innovations that happened this year. We are seeing a huge emergence of low-code and no-code platforms, as well as artificial intelligence tools like ChatGPT. A report from Gartner is predicting that by 2024, next year, over 65% of application development will be done via low-code or no-code platforms. And if we're being honest, this kind of makes sense. A lot of websites and apps don't need tech stacks with all of the cutting-edge technologies. Building things from scratch with pure code makes things more time-consuming, more expensive, and harder to maintain. And as these no-code platforms evolve and make it easier to build exactly what we want to build, it's hard to continue to see this high demand we've had for full-stack developers over the past few years. Take a no-code platform like Wix Studio, for example. They make it extremely easy to build websites using things like artificial intelligence for responsiveness. And when it comes to website design, they have a bunch of presets and no-code animations that makes it a lot easier for us to make these modern-looking websites. So in a lot of cases, this will just automate the programming workflow. And while we might think that full-stack development won't go away because it gives you that full control over your project, these no-code and low-code platforms are still giving us the opportunity to write custom code. So in a lot of cases, as these platforms evolve, it does make sense that there's going to be a smaller demand for things like full-stack developers. However, what it does mean is we're going to need people with a new set of skills who are able to create and build on these low-code and no-code platforms. Now, speaking of artificial intelligence, a study by McKinsey suggests that by 2030, over 14% of the global workforce will be automated by AI. And this will also include programming jobs as well. It shouldn't be difficult for us to see that technology is definitely evolving. But this shouldn't be a surprise, because a lot of the things that we're building and coding already are to automate things. Coding is solving problems and making things easier. And some of the problems being solved right now are to make coding easier. Now, there's a lot of videos being made on this topic right now, and it could discourage new programmers or people that are learning to code because they want to become software engineers. And I guess what I'd like to say to that is that it's easy to find negative news out there. But when it comes to programming and technical jobs, it doesn't mean that these jobs are going away anytime soon and that people are going to stop coding. It just means that there's a current shift taking place in the tech industry. What you need to do to stay relevant as a programmer is focus on emerging technologies and things that are in demand. And you need to build a skill set around those things. And there are a lot of emerging fields that are going to need engineers. Things like augmented reality and virtual reality are new fields that you can get into, and they're highly in demand. The same with fields like self-driving cars, computer vision, space exploration. There's so much innovation left to be done in so many different fields. It's just the demand for programmers will change, and the demand for certain skill sets will change. So we've all known this from the beginning. To stay relevant as a programmer, you need relevant skills. I think a huge reason people are struggling to find jobs right now is because there's an oversaturated market, not just of developers, but developers with the same skills. There's way too many developers coming into the field that want a shortcut to get a good job. And most of these people just pick up Python and try to build full stack apps quickly, or JavaScript and try to build full stack apps quickly. So if you're struggling to find a job right now, it might be best to pick a niche and find relevant skills for that niche where engineers are highly in demand. When it comes to things like web development in particular, people used to build sites with just HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then JavaScript frameworks came out. So you had to learn those to stay relevant. But now the next big waves we're seeing right now, I think, are artificial intelligence and low-code, no-code platforms. So if I had any advice, it might be to pick up some skills in those. Either way, it's pretty straightforward, guys. The people that have the skills that are in demand are going to get hired. And the people that don't evolve and learn new things, well, you may get left behind. So to answer the original question, coding isn't dying. The landscape is just changing like it always has. And all we really have to do to remain programmers is keep learning and stay relevant. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll leave some links to resources below so that we can learn some relevant skills. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.